Hey, this is Mr. Miller, back for part 2 of the Reformation. And the nice gentleman you see in front of you is Martin Luther, the main force behind what's called the Protestant Reformation. And he's going to be the one that makes the church split into a bunch of different parts. But we'll get to that. So as a bit of a review, the church was selling church positions to the highest bidder. Religious items such as relics were being sold to raise money. The church was selling certificates called indulgences, and indulgences are a way to reduce or cancel out your sins on earth. And really, indulgences were an easy way for the church to raise money. But Luther questions the way the church is raising money. He says that selling of indulgences is wrong, that there's no biblical basis, that is, that he's read the Bible and he doesn't see anywhere where it includes indulgences. And he protests the behavior or the selling of indulgences by John Tetzel, who's selling these indulgences for St. Peter's Cathedral. All right, so what does Luther do? Luther famously nails 95 theses to a church door. That is, 95 arguments or claims for why the church is going down the wrong path. Mostly it has to do with indulgences. And so he says that the only way to gain God's approval, or the only way God can forgive your sins, is through a justification by faith. So it is faith alone, and it doesn't necessarily have to do anything with purchasing items or indulgences, or through the sacraments. And so here's Luther pounding those theses into the door. Alright, so let's take a look. If you're in Catholicism, the way you gain God's approval is through good works, that is, doing good things, and the keeping of sacraments. And when I say sacraments, I mean things like the Eucharist, which is the, I guess, the practice where you have the body and blood of Christ, that is, the wafer and the wine, confirmation or baptism, and there are 4 others. With Protestants, that is, the religion that comes from Luther, or Luther's movement, is only through faith. And salvation is a gift from God. You can't really necessarily earn it. So Luther's ideas kind of immediately take hold, and this is through the printing press, which we'll cover in just a little bit, but people begin to talk about his ideas. Luther spreads his ideas through speeches and writing. Again, the writing is spread, or is enabled to spread around by the printing press invented by Gutenberg. And he agrees with, or those who agree with Luther are Protestants. Protestants are protesting the actions of the church. And their movement is called the Reformation. But why Reformation? It's because Leo X and other church leaders wouldn't accept what Luther was saying. They thought he was going too far. And Leo X issues a bull banning Luther's ideas. But Luther promptly burns the bull, and it's basically like spitting in the Pope's face. And when I say bull, I'm not necessarily talking about a bull like this. The Pope didn't send this nice fuzzy bull to to Luther, and Luther didn't burn it. What I am talking about is a document. This is an official Pope document, which is called a bull. And again, Luther took this, read it, went out to the street, and burned it. Through his actions and his beliefs, Luther is thrown out of the church. He's excommunicated. But Holy Roman Emperor Charles V, this is around Germany, or what's modern-day Germany, gives Luther one more chance. He says, okay, Luther, you can take back what you said, you can recant. And this happens in a meeting called the Diet of Worms. And not a diet of worms, but a Diet of Worms, or an assembly at the city of Worms. And Luther is asked to recant or take back what he said about the church, and Luther refuses. He says, "No, I cannot recant. Here I stand, I can do no other." And he essentially becomes an outlaw and goes into hiding, and some of the princes in Germany end up protecting him. And while he's in hiding, he translates the Bible into German. So he doesn't recant, and he goes into hiding. Now, he translates the Bible into German, and the question is, why is this such a big deal? Well, before this, the Bible was really only in Latin. And Latin was a language that the clergy, or the church and its leadership, were able to read. It was an educated language. It wasn't commonly spoken. It was only really during church services or Mass. Once Luther translates it into German, it opens up the possibility of translating the Bible into a lot of different languages. So people are able to read the Bible and interpret the words themselves. And Luther distributes his ideas through these pamphlets, and he's able to easily spread his ideas through Gutenberg's printing press, which made it both easier and cheaper. And ultimately, Luther is saying that the church should have less power. Now, all this debate between the Protestants, or what would become the Protestants, and the Catholics didn't go very smoothly. We ended up with 9 years of war, and additionally it led to another 30 years war. So there was war happening all over the place. People were killing each other. It wasn't very pretty. So that's the end. And here's a map. You can see up in the north, that's mostly the Lutheran area. And the church, after Luther, his Protestant Reformation, it split into a bunch of different sects or branches, and you can see we have Lutheran, Calvinist in pink, which is led by Calvin, Anglican, this is the Church of England, and then the yellow areas are all Roman Catholic. That's it.